I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I know I did. We had gorgeous weather, not so much so today. But, anyways, as you can see, I'm not at my fireplace. I had to come to a more quiet area. And so I always use my Himalayan lamp or my aquarium when I have to go to a different area in the house. And I am going to go live. I am. I'm not sure when. I know I've said that for a while, but I will at some point. I need to feel more comfortable, and I do want to interact with other people instead of talking to myself. It will happen soon, I promise. Um, but I wanted to do a video. Again, I've already did one on the subject of the Kim and Crafton with the what happened with the seizures and what happened with them. And I dug in and gave, uh, my journey with my child. And, I just put that video out there and thought, that would be the end of it and I wouldn't talk about it again. But I am still seeing and hearing, people just going on and on and on about it, that they lied and some other things. So I'm not going to go over everything that I already said in that video because, I went from the start of my son having seizures at the age of 6, and he is an adult now, and he still has seizures because, he has epilepsy. But some of the things that I'm hearing are just kind of disgusting. And so I don't know, maybe this is kind of an educational video. I don't know. And I don't care if anybody shares the video, they're more than welcome. I know a few of my videos before people have shared. I don't care. Doesn't bother me one bit. They can share away. And maybe some people should be aware, maybe an awareness video, who knows, um, on the subject, of epilepsy, um, because, it kind of floors me that some people, you dislike other people, other creators, or maybe subs that you might want to twist things or keep a narrative going just because you don't like somebody, okay? And say the most ugliest things out there, and you don't know what the truth really is, but you think you do, so you're just going to keep up with that narrative just because you don't like the person. And that's not right either. And, I have been told that I have a biased channel. Um, and I don't feel like I do. Uh, Maybe I haven't had the time to cover, everybody yet, or, cover who I am going to cover because I just haven't had a chance yet. My channel's a mutt. But, I have stood up for, in this drama community, a lot of different people or talked about a lot of different people. So I don't know how some think I am biased. I mean, I have stood up for the Natasha quite a few times. I know I've done some videos on her, but I have also done videos standing up for her. And so I don't understand that. Um, I have done videos standing up for grannies watching. I've done a video um, that stood up for mommy ramblings, and that was one of my first videos that I did. I've done some standing, I'm sorry, um, even standing up for Mrs. Portland at one time, one video. Not really standing up for, but I guess just reaching out to her and saying, don't let people get you down. Um, I also did some videos calling out her bad behavior, just like I did some calling out other people's bad behaviors. So I don't get that, when people think that I'm a biased channel. I don't understand. Um, just like with Natasha, even though I've done some videos talking about her behaviors, I have also did a lot of videos where I have called out others that were doing things to her um, that shouldn't have been done. So I guess people are going to think what they want. But I'm just going to dig right in and talk about this. And like I said, I'm going to try not to repeat a lot of what I said in my other video that I did on this subject. And I do apologize if I do repeat myself a lot, and I do that, and I lose my train of thought. I am on a medication, okay, for migraines. I've said that before. And one of the side effects of that medication is things are on the tip of my tongue, and it just doesn't come out. I know what I want to say, okay? It's right there, but either I forget what the word is, or it just doesn't come out right. That is one of the big side effects, and I hate that side effect. I really do. But it is what it is. I mean, what you gonna do about it, okay? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that knows what I'm talking about on different medications that you take that affects the brain. But we're gonna dig right in, okay? Now, I remember Kraft, and I've already said this before, from the Watts case, okay? But I didn't watch many videos, all right? But I remember the name, Kraft and Burns, from that case. And we all know when the community post was put out that he had this episode, had seizures, and everybody was concerned about what was going on. And I think Kim was the one that put it out, and there was a lot of talk going around in the community about this. And a lot of prayers were being put out for Crafton. So later on, okay, some people dug in and found out that Crafton was actually arrested. All right. I am not putting out any private information or personal information that isn't already out on the net. I don't believe in that. This stuff is already out there. I shouldn't say out on the net, but already out on YouTube. It's already out there by everybody involved, okay? But somebody had to dig into his personal information, and they found out that he was arrested. And Kim and Crafton said that, he had a seizure, and these other people that don't care for Kim and Crafton are saying that they are lying to the community, that basically he was arrested for domestic violence and other charges against Kim, that he really didn't have a seizure. He didn't go to the hospital, but he was in jail instead, and that Kim lied to the community, and that she was lying to get it. I guess that she had a GoFundMe or PayPal or whatever it was to get bail money. And this is the narrative that they're going with, that he was, and they showed his arrest record and all this stuff on to show everybody that he was lying. This is what they're sticking with. Okay, and they showed it, and it's true. Okay, he was arrested, and it shows the date he was arrested and the date he was released. And I think it was like 10 days, it shows. So they're basically saying that, you know, Kim's lying and the attack was, I should say, the charges were against Kim, that Crafton attacked Kim, and they have stuck with this narrative that she lied to her whole community. They fraud, you know, they did this fraud to the community. So, anyways, I'm lost. See, another thing with that medication, I've said before too, I lose my train of thought. But I'm still hearing it. I would have never done this video if it wasn't some of the ugliness that I'm hearing. And I am hearing a lot of nasty, nasty stuff that is still being spread around about this. Now, I guess Kim, when she came back, because she was off of YouTube for a little bit, and I don't think Kim and Crofton do videos all the time. And at least back then, they weren't doing, you know, videos all the time on their channel. So they were just updating their community on what was going on. But it seems like Kim held back. She did not tell everybody everything, okay? And I don't blame her, okay? And I'll get to that in a minute. She didn't say, you know, she didn't say everything. She just gave a portion of what happened with Crafton, not the whole story of what happened to her. So, anyways, the ugliness that's going around is that, you know, Crafton did not have a seizure, and he just attacked Kim, and he was in jail, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so when I did my video, I was talking about my child that has seizures and how he has, as he got older, how they've changed. He has grand mal seizures, and there's different types of seizures. And he also has a few of the other seizures, but how he got older, how they would change, the aftermath, okay? There is an aftermath of seizures, okay? Not the seizure itself, all right? The aftermath. And that's what we're not understanding here, because what I am hearing is people are saying, and this is going to be a trigger warning because I don't want to upset Kim nor Crafton. And they don't know who I am from Jack, okay? They don't. But I don't want to upset either one of them when I talk about this. But we're talking about the aftermath of a seizure, all right? Especially a grand mal seizure. Now, I do want to kind of back up a little bit because Crafton himself put out, and it's already known, I'm not putting out any type of personal HIPAA information, okay? That he was attacked years ago, I believe, with a baseball bat to the head, all right? And he had a TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury. And that's when the seizure disorder started. My child never had a TBI, all right? So his was, they just started out of the blue. No rhyme or reason why his seizures started. But a lot of people that have TBIs, they might start having seizure disorders, and some that don't, some people that have TBIs might not have a seizure disorder, but a lot of people that do have TBIs, they will start having a seizure disorder. So it is well known by Crafton's, you know, out of his own mouth, even way before this, that he had a seizure disorder. All right. So we are not talking about the seizure itself. We are talking about the aftermath, the after effects of a seizure. Now, I talked about my son having EEGs done. And the EEGs my son would have, uh, especially after the first seizure that he had, showed that he was having seizure activity. Okay? His brain was still misfiring. He wasn't having a seizure when he had the EEG done, but it was still showing some seizure activity going on. This was the next day. So he was still having, it was still showing that things were not right in his brain. And there's people that will have, well, he still does EEGs once a year. He has lab work to check his medication. He's on Depakote for life, to check his levels, to see if he's at the therapeutic level of his medication. And then, of course, complete lab work, to check his kidneys and liver and all that good stuff. So I hear people saying, like I said, this is a trigger warning, and I'm sorry to Crafton and Kim. People are saying, well, what? Did Crafton choke Kim out while he was having a seizure? Is that what they're trying to put out there? Absolutely not. Okay? When someone is having a seizure, a grandma seizure, they're restricted. Normally their hands are restricted. Now, are they strong? Absolutely. My son, one of his seizures, he balled up, and when he was seizing, my ex-husband, my second ex, had to lift him up because he literally rolled himself almost under a table. And he lifted him up to move him in the middle of the floor and get him on his side. And he put a pillow under his head. And when he had him holding him, my son, when he was seizing, literally hit him in the face. And my son was, I think, maybe 7 or 8 at that time. And it was a hard hit. And my son is a small kid. He's an adult now, but he's still on the smaller side. And my ex at that time told me that it was a pretty hard hit for a small kid. But he was seasoned at the time. His hands were constricted, okay? So, no, that's not what they're talking about. Not during a seizure, all right? And when people are having seizures in the middle of a seizure, they have no clue what they're doing. They do not remember this seizure at all. They do not remember. So I hear that a lot. Oh, so when Crafton was having this seizure, he just automatically started choking Kim out. That's not what Kim and Crafton are saying happened. Okay? We're talking about the after effects, the aftermath after the seizure is done. So, the aftermath of the seizure, I've already said my son would go into a deep, deep sleep. And the second ex-husband, okay, I've already stated that he started having seizures after we found out that my son did. Or my son was, had epilepsy. We don't know if it was from him doing years of martial arts or if it was drug induced because he was a drug addict. Prescription, off the street prescription pills. That was his drug of choice. And I already stated that after I divorced him, because of this, um, he OD'd. Um, and he's deceased. But he started having seizures. And I've already stated that after he came out of a seizure and, he was talking and everything, but he was still totally out of it, how he kicked a police officer very hard, got very combative. Um, but anyways, I'm not going to even get into the acts. I want to stick with my son. My son, when he was younger, he wasn't, like I said, he was not the average from what his neurologist said he would be, that he would have muscle spasms or could, muscle soreness from having these seizures. My son would, after he went into that deep sleep and would wake up, he would be full of energy. Now, this changed as he got older. Then he would get the muscle soreness. And then as a teenager, he would get very, very depressed after having a seizure. And this would go on for days. Very depressed. And I also stated that the one time that he got violent, he was a teenager, and he was volunteering with his friends at a food bank, and their parents were there. And he had a seizure, and they took him to the hospital. And when they called me and I got there, they had security in the room with my son. And I didn't know why. He got very combative with his mouth and stuff like that. He had a cluster seizure, okay? And that was something new. And they put security in there because of him being combative, and that was also something very new. And this was after he woke up from that deep sleep. The seizure was done. It was done and over with, okay? And he already went into the deep sleep, and then he woke up, and he was combative to some the staff, I guess, and then there were some officers that were at the nurse's station. So they had security in there. Now, with a seizure, they don't want to strap you down because you can hurt yourself. But what I am trying to say here, and I'm going to try to move this along because I do have a very bad habit of going on and repeating myself, and I do apologize. Maybe that's one reason why I really haven't went live yet. But what I'm trying to say, it's the after effects of a seizure, okay? And it can be days later. My son will get very depressed, and the brain is still not functioning right days after a seizure. If you would hook somebody up to an EEG after a seizure, a couple of days after a seizure, the chances are of it being abnormal and seizure activity going on are very high. All right? Because the brain is still not functioning right. And then you have that depression, especially as they get older. Now, I'm going to say something, and I got to be very careful how I do this because I don't want to dox myself in any way. But years ago, and I'm not giving away anybody's names or anything like that, so I'm not going against HIPAA. But many years ago at a nursing home, there was an elderly woman that had a seizure disorder. She had, I'm not sure exactly why, okay? Because you can have seizure disorders. You can be, from epilepsy, a TBI, all right? And she would get very depressed. And what they would do is after she, and this was her choice, okay? She was well with it in her mind. Um, she chose to have electric shock therapy. Yes. I ain't gonna say no more on that, okay? That was her choice for depression, all right? Because of the seizures. A lot of people get very depressed after they have seizures. Everybody is different, all right? Every body, when I say body, your body reacts to things in a different way, all right? With that, diseases, with disorders. So, what could very well have happened here, and this is what we got to think about. We cannot think about, we don't like this person, so we're going to go by a narrative, all right? We have to think logically. Because some of the things that I'm hearing is just gross. And that is, stating that, again, trigger warning, talking about Kim's neck and wondering if Crafton, how can Crafton even have choked her out? I mean, when I hear stuff like that, people, that is just absolutely disgusting, okay? No matter how this happened, Kim is still a victim, okay? She's still a victim because it happened to her. All right? It happened to her and it was traumatic to her. Because it seems like this is not something she is used to. She did not see this type of behavior out of Crafton before. So, for people to say this just because they don't like her, that they don't know how he would have been able to wrap his hands or legs around her neck to be able to do this, or maybe she didn't do her quote wifely duties like she should. So I'm not even going to go any further than that because it was just disgusting, okay? Just disgusting. And I know that there is a lot of domestic abuse survivors that are viewers, okay? I already stated I'm a 15-year survivor of domestic violence. Now, the one that did this to me, he's deceased now, as of last month. Took his own life in front of my children. But see, I forgave him, many moons ago. But the thing is that is so disgusting to say. And it's a slap in the face for every domestic abuse survivor. Even those words to say about anybody, even those words coming out of anybody's mouth, it's just gross. It's gross, and I can't believe some of the stuff that I heard, and yes, I heard it with my own ears. So it's nothing that anybody is saying, oh, well, this person said this or that, or this person said that, because I like my videos or my channel to be about truth and what I hear and what I see. I heard it, okay? Sorry, I did. So again, no matter if you like someone or not, all right, you shouldn't support. That being said, period. And and some people are saying, well, is she a victim or isn't she a victim? She's saying she's not a victim because, it happened during a seizure. No, Kinda and kinda not. Not during a seizure, after a seizure. Okay? And I have not seen, and I will admit, I have not seen um, Kim put out, or here, Kim put out information on exactly how this happened. I haven't listened. I only seen a little tidbit of a paper because, or information going on around or whatever, and I'll say that in a minute. So I don't know if she explained all this. Um, on exactly how it happened. All right, just from little bits and pieces of what I picked up. That this happened after he came out of his seizure. All right. And he got violent. And this is something she never seen before. And she called the police. And I said before, she had every right to call the police. I mean, if my child, my own child, okay, even though he's small, but if my own child came after me and started doing this to me, I know that he just came out of a seizure, or it might have been the next day. And I knew that see, here's the thing. I've been around this since my child was 6. Okay, he's an adult now. But even if he did it a day later, 2 days later, me knowing how it takes him a few days to recover now that he's an adult. But if he came after me, knowing this isn't his normal behavior, but he just had a seizure not too long ago, something's not going right in his brain, but he came after me and was doing anything to me, I'm going to call 911 too, even on my own child. All right? Because I need to protect myself too. So Kim had every right, and I said that before in my last video, she had every right to call the police. And the police, they had to do their job, okay, and they had to arrest Crafton. And they had to put the charges on that they put on him because that's their job. Now, again, that does make him a victim because it was done to her. But see, here's the thing. Does it mean that they're lying about what happened? No, it doesn't. It means that something, okay, let me rephrase this. It could mean that something was going on, okay, after this seizure. Now, seizures, I'm sorry, with my son, they are getting more intense as he's getting older. The after effect, people. After effect. Afterwards. After they're done. Hours later, days later. All right? The seizure itself, okay, are about the same. His whole body is seasoned, okay? They're about the same. It's the after effects that are different. He's not full of energy like he was when he was a child. Now he has the muscle cramps. Now he has the depression. He had that violent outburst. All right? Things are different as he gets older. I already said on one seizure he dislocated his shoulder. And he had to go to the hospital to get it put back into place. Sometimes these seizures change people's, they get very depressed, okay? They change their outlook on life because they can't, it's something they can't control. It's scary. I mean, it's scary for us to see it happen. But can you imagine? And I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of viewers out there that suffer from seizures or have children that have seizures. You know what I'm talking about. But for people that suffer from them, you don't know when it's going to happen. My kid is scared to death too. He's in his 20s. He's in his early 20s. He's scared to death. And I'm just going to say it. He does not drive. He is scared to death to get his driver's license. Okay? He is scared to death, and not about hurting himself. He's scared to death that he's going to have a seizure and that he's going to end up hurting somebody else. Because he has no warning that a seizure is going to happen. And that's another thing. Some people get that warning that a seizure is going to happen. My kid didn't. Never has. Excuse me. Let me take that back. He has gotten one time where he said that he was video chatting a friend and he said that he was feeling funky and then he had a seizure. One time. Some people get that feeling that they're going to have a seizure. My kid wasn't lucky enough to have that. So back to Kim and Crafton. Kim had every right to call the police, okay? Because of what Crafton did. Now, did Crafton have control over what he did? In my opinion, I don't think so. That's just my opinion because of what I seen happen with my son. The police had to do their job. They had to arrest Crafton and put the charges on him that they did. Now, here's another thing. People keep wanting to say, he choked her or he did this while he was having a seizure. Guys, we're not talking about while he was having a seizure. Now, I did have a girl, it was a friend of mine's girlfriend that tried to give me this BS story. She also has epilepsy and diabetes, and she was arrested for assaulting a police officer, right? And she tried to run from the police officer. She tried to give me the BS story that she had a seizure. And in the middle of the seizure, she assaulted the police officer and then ran. And that was her story, and she was sticking to it. She got into an altercation with the boyfriend. And he called the police, okay? And when the police got there, she tried to assault the police officer and run from him. And then her excuse was she had a seizure and that's why she did it. I'm sorry. When you're having a seizure, you cannot run. Okay, you can't. But that's what she tried to use. And no, she was arrested. All right. Because again, when you're having a seizure, you cannot run from the police officer. Can you assault them and hit them while you're seizing? Yes. And a police officer can see if you're seizing. Okay. Can you fake seizing? Yeah, you can. I'm sure. But she wasn't faking that. She was running. So, okay. That didn't stick. All right. Can't run when you're having a seizure. Just saying. But anyways, they had to arrest him. But And here we go again with viewers out there that are nurses. And I said this in my last video. Viewers out there that are nurses, especially that work in a hospital. We know, okay? We all know what HIPAA is, or we should know what HIPAA is, what the true meaning of HIPAA is, right? Or some may need to look up the true meaning of HIPAA violation. But nurses, especially viewers, that are nurses, and if they work in the hospital, I know people won't speak up, but they would know that all inmates, and I said this on my last video, if someone is arrested, all right, and taken to jail, and then they're transported over to the hospital, they are automatically put as private, all right, automatically. And what that means is, like, if you go to the ER or you're admitted into the hospital, they will ask you, if somebody calls to see if you're here, do you want your name released, yay or nay? And you tell them. So if somebody calls and asks if you're in the hospital, if you say no, they're going to say, we don't have anybody here by that name. Well, all inmates, anybody that's in jail that is transported to the hospital, it's never going to show that they're in the hospital, okay? It's not going to show. So if an inmate is transported to jail, okay, and we all know by what's already been put out there that Crafton was arrested, okay? He could have been arrested and then taken, booked in, whatever, taken directly over to the hospital. And he could have spent the entire, I think it was 10 days? He could have spent the entire 10 days over at that hospital and then released from the hospital, okay? But when you look it up, it's going to show that he was in jail the entire time, because it's not going to show that he was ever in the hospital, because they're private. Always, everywhere. That's how it works. In every state. Inmates are private for a reason when they go to the hospital. I mean, that's common sense if you think about it, for, safety reasons. So when people want to go by the narrative that, nope, Crafton was in jail the entire time and he did not go to the hospital, were you there? Were you in that jail cell with Crafton and know that he spent that entire time in the jail and did not go over to the hospital? You have no clue. Absolutely no clue. But everybody, well, I can't say everybody, people that do not like Kim and Crafton are going by this narrative that he did not go over to the hospital. Okay? That he did not get treatment, but that he just spent all this time in jail. But you don't know. I don't know. But we're just going to run with it, and we're going to spread it around that he was only arrested and he spent this time in jail, all right, and that he did domestic violence on Kim, and she put out false information to her community. But this is why I believe Kim and Crafton's story. she didn't have to put anything out because they, at that time, they weren't doing videos all the time. I went and looked, and she didn't have to put anything out because they weren't doing videos all the time. So she didn't have to put anything, right? Because we know people dig in. They dig into people's personal information, and I'm sure that they would have thought that, people were going to find out something, because, that's what people do in this drama community, as they dig in and find out, or try to find out personal information and what really happened and stuff. So something was going to come to light on this. And then people want to say, well, she started a GoFundMe or whatever it was. I did see some sort of fund. That was not from Kim. That was from a mod. All right. And then it was taken down or something. It there was no money. And then they said that it was used for Crafton's bond. And I think they showed proof that he didn't have a bond. I say I think because I didn't see that. I'm trying to remember if I seen it. I'm not going to go back and look, but I think that I seen that there was no bond. He didn't have a bond. And when I say he didn't have a bond, they just released him on his own, what is it, reconnaissance or whatever you call it. So he didn't have to be bonded out. He didn't have to pay anything. I think they showed that. They just released him. So that would kind of blow that out of the water too. But I think that fund or whatever that the mod started, she started just because, there was somebody that was having a health crisis in the community, the creator, and she did it on her own free will, and Kim and Crafton didn't want it. They didn't want it. I mean, like I said, they weren't really doing that many videos. So, nothing came of that fund, or it was given to somebody else or something. I'm not sure, but there was no money there. They didn't collect any money. So that's why I kind of believe what they are saying that happened. All right? Because again, she didn't have to say anything. She could have just say I'm taking a break. We'll be back in, whatever, or she didn't have to say anything at all. Because again, people like to dig, right, and find out personal information and put it out there, which is exactly what they did. And then when they put out this information, Kim, I think, had to then explain what was going on. And they're like, well, you didn't tell the whole truth. Well, come on, people. Two reasons here, okay, why this might have happened. One, it had to do with her, and, again, something that happened to her. She's still a victim, right? In my eyes, she is. Even though under the circumstances, it's kind of different circumstances if it happened the way they're saying that it happened. All right? This is the circumstances to me that was out of his control. It's not like you get drunk and then you do this because, you put that alcohol to your lips and you drank it and then you got violent with somebody. Okay, you made the choice to do that drinking, but you did not make that choice to have a seizure and have your brain go wacko for, for however long, and have this happen to you, and then you got violent or whatever. You didn't make that choice, right? And she might not have been able or shouldn't have been talking about it because I'm not sure, but I think this case is still going on, right? So maybe she can't really dig in too deep about exactly, or shouldn't have, or wasn't supposed to, of really what happened, because it's still going on. I'm not sure if it's still going on, the case or whatever against Crafton. I think that he did say that he's going to have to answer to it or whatever. So maybe it is still going on. So maybe that's something she couldn't just open up to and say, hey, this is what happened, that portion of it. Or again, that's, come on, guys, that's not something that we just want to come out and say happened to us. I mean, there's a lot of survivors out there. And even though this is a unique situation, it's still not a good feeling. And another reason why I believe it too is I did see the paperwork. She showed the paperwork because some people were saying something about a protective order. Now, normally, I know in my case, with a protective order for domestic violence, when the police have you fill the stuff out, we mark that protective order when we fill it out, when we call the police on our partner that did something to us. That's the first thing we check, right? We don't want them nowhere near us. Kim didn't do that. We see that box. I did see that. She did not check that because I think Kim knew that something was going on in his brain. She knows all about his seizure disorder. She knows about what happened to him. She knew something was off. Something was not triggering right in his brain, but she still, this happened to her, so she was still calling out for help because she has every right to. But she didn't want that protective order because she's not scared of him. It's just something happened that she in her heart feels like he was not in control of medically. She just needed help at that time, okay? Because if she was in fear of her life, and I do believe Kim said that she was in a abusive relationship before, and Kim seems to be smart to me. I don't think she would have, number one, let him back in if this is a pattern, okay? If this is a abusive relationship. And she would have marked that protective order to keep him away. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I do believe that she does think this has to do with the seizure, okay? And the reason why, like I said, the reason why she didn't say anything about, or give the whole story, that's how I should put it. The whole story is either because she didn't have to. I'm sorry. It's their personal business. She didn't have to. She was asking for prayers for him because, he was going through these seizures. But everybody wants to call her a liar. You weren't there. You were not there. And everybody wants to see proof that he was in the hospital. She doesn't have to show that either. Now, I don't know if any proof has been put out there or not because I haven't been following that. if he was or wasn't, but, he doesn't have to show that proof. That's his medical history. So that's why I wanted to kind of do this video, is because some of the things that I've been seeing and hearing is really gross, especially when they are, um, the way they're talking about Kim and uh, talking about choking her out, and, how Crafton can choke her out, or how would he be able to? I mean, come on, guys. Seriously. Like I said, I don't care if you like somebody or not. Those words should not come out of your mouth. They shouldn't. Because I'm sure that was very traumatizing to Kim, okay? No matter how this whole event went down, it was traumatizing. And again, she is standing with Crafton, and people are like, oh, she's standing with an abuser. Like I said, there is people out there that have family members or themselves or people that they know and love that have seizure disorders, and I am sure that you have seen some very bizarre behavior afterwards, okay, that you don't want to talk about. And there is a lot of people that say, well, I have a child that's never done that before, or I have a seizure disorder. I've never done that before. You're absolutely right. Everybody is different. I never seen any of that out of my child until he was a teenager. And I only seen it the one time. Actually, I didn't see it as, when I came into the hospital that time, I didn't see the brunt of it. Okay, the major part of it. I seen him going ballistic when I went in there, but I didn't see the bad part of it. He didn't hit anybody, just the words and the wailing and stuff like that. But it was enough to put security in his room. But like I said in my last video, thank God, his neurologist was at that hospital, and all of his medical records and everything in the computer, they were very well of who he was and his medical history and everything like that. But just because one person doesn't, their bodies react one way, doesn't mean another person that they're not going to react a different way with the same disorder. Okay, we know this. So with that, I'm just saying, just because you don't like somebody does not mean you should say the most ugly things, okay? Or think that you know exactly what happened unless you were in that room. Because you don't. I don't. Have no clue. So with that, I'm going to go. And, some of the places that are very dear to my heart for donating to is our domestic violence women's shelters, autism, They have a lot of places, with a lot of places you can donate for people with TBIs, especially with our military. The Epilepsy Foundation, those are wonderful places. Those are really dear to my heart. So anyways, everyone have a great day. Those are just my thoughts on it. And I don't know what else to say about it. I'm not going to talk on it again. I already gave my story on how seizures, okay, can affect you days after, hours after you come out of a seizure. Not talking about during a seizure. I'm talking about after you come out. And also, I wanted to really make it a point to say that a person can be in jail, they can be arrested and still spend their time in the hospital. I mean, they could be booked in, or they can be arrested on the spot and taken to jail. And it's going to show, if you look them up, because they were arrested on the spot, it's going to show that they were in jail the entire time. It's not going to show that they were in the hospital. It's not going to show that, people, because they are considered private. All inmates are private when they're in the hospital. But yet they can spend a day, 2 days, the entire time in the hospital and then be booked out. I mean, they can come from the hospital, go right to the jail and be booked right out and go home. But when you look them up, it's going to show that they were in jail the entire time. That's the point I'm trying to get across. People want to go use the narrative to fit their own agenda because they don't like somebody. And then they want to spread this around. And in my opinion, it's not right. It's not. And it's not right to say some of the things that are being said just because you don't like that person. So everyone have a good one, and we'll just catch you again.